Welcome along to episode 19 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and I'm joined this week by Brian, and for the Instagram phenom Bowie Be Like, we have Jonathan Byrne speaking for the Scandinavian sighthound himself, Bowie. Each week, we take some of the endless stream of content brought to us through Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, Disney+, Hulu. Wherever you get your content, we're going to grab a chunk of it and we're going to watch it and we're going to talk about it. Given the nature of these conversations, they are very spoiler heavy, so if you haven't seen any of the stuff we're talking about, go off and watch it and then come back to us. This week, we are talking about a lot of trailers, we're talking about a lot of video game stuff, but in terms of spoiler warning, we watched all of Masters of the Universe on Netflix and we're going to talk through the whole thing. So I don't really think it's particularly spoilerable, you know, if you've watched the first episode. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast and heading over to Instagram or Twitter, where our handle is @TheEndlessCast. We put up audio clips, we put up illustrations, we do drawing videos to go with every episode. So it's a good place to sort of engage and see some additional content. If you want to suggest anything, or if you want to comment or send in an audio clip for us to play on the podcast of what you thought of what we're talking about or anything like that, our email address is theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode. Today we have a guest. How do you want to be introduced?
It's Bowie, who I'm representing. I'll be translating for Bowie, but I'm Jonz.
So we have Bowie's interpreter Jonz with us today. All views are Bowie's. Letters of complaint should be addressed to the dog.
Or adoration.
Or adoration, indeed, yeah. There's some golden fan art of Bowie going around, so, you know, if we get enough demand, we'll put out prints.
That was part of the deal.
I do have a Jonz drawing as well to go with it, so.
Cool.
The trailers this week, we saw The Last Duel released, which is Ridley Scott's epic with Adam Driver, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and it's been trying to shoot in Ireland for the last year and a half. It's the movie that gave us dorky Matt Damon with his, was it a Centra bag?
I think it was a Super Value, was it?
For any listeners in any other parts of the world, Matt Damon got stuck in Ireland, or chose to spend a large part of the pandemic in Ireland.
Dorky to be.
Could he not leave the country?
I'm not sure. I remember that story came up. I think they just decided to stay because Docky was so nice.
It is funny how he kind of became this sort of, I guess, when there's nothing to do in a country, you make yourselves pastimes. But like Dublin Airport at one point tweeted, "Listen lads, we can't keep the guy. If he wants to go, we have to let him."
I don't know. If I had to be stuck anywhere, I'd say Docky would be a nice place. I'm biased though, of course.
Bowie is seen scarpering up Killiney Hill on a regular basis, along with all of Dublin's celebrity.
Yeah.
So this is the latest Ridley Scott thing. What was the last Ridley Scott film? Like, he produces a lot of stuff, but what was his last film?
Was it Covenant?
It got trashed.
Might be Covenant.
It was some kind of ensemble film, wasn't it?
He did Raised by Wolves, that HBO show. Did you watch it?
I watched the first episode.
I liked a lot of the aesthetic of it. Like, even the first episode had some real, like, 50s sci-fi influence in terms of, like, the jumpsuits and the space helmets and the looks of it that way. I thought it was kind of cool the way they made that work. But I didn't get through the whole series.
No, I had a bit of a... I like religion, science fiction, religion-influenced science fiction. Like, remember my dissertation in college was all about that. But watching it... Maybe if I kept watching it, it wouldn't have been, but it seemed a bit one-sided towards religion, and I'm a little bit. I didn't like how they were dealing. I didn't find the first episode that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I had that as well watching it, where it was like, I don't know, I am biased towards, I guess, the sort of more atheist angle on stuff, because they were pitting atheist against faith in it, and it did seem to be sort of leaning very like pro-faith. You know, in a way, like it presented our heroes as atheists and these people of faith as being kind of crazy and zealous and zealoty. But as it was going on, they were kind of getting sort of proved more right. And I'm like, whoa, what's the angle on this show? I suppose turnabout is fair play. Everybody gets to make films if people of faith want to make them.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I watched the first episode and I had a friend recommending it to me, and she kind of confirmed that it does lean more that way as the show goes on, so I was like, oh no, it's okay.
Looking at Ridley Scott's IMDb here, the last thing that seems to be a film, I think, is Alien Covenant. He's got Gladiator 2 as announced. I don't know if that's happening. hopefully the Nick Cave script, where Russell Crowe essentially becomes the god of war and travels through time fighting battles across history, ends up in the Pentagon. Did you ever see that?
Nick Cave, the singer, he wrote a sequel for Gladiator. That's how much he liked it.
Yeah. I don't entirely think it wasn't solicited. I think they went after a sequel script and he wrote on it. Like, there are two writers on it.
It's a strange film, Gladiator. I watched it when it came out and I thought it was fine, but I have friends that are just obsessed with it. I don't know what the draw of it is, to be honest.
I guess the scale, coupled with a bit of Hans Zimmer and the stuff that is practical, you know, you do get a real sense of real crowds in it.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about that only this morning when I watched the new Snake Eyes trailer, and we're going to talk about Snake Eyes in a minute, where there's a moment where he, like, jumps and does a pirouette 180 to land facing backwards on a motorcycle, and I went, that's supposed to be impressive, but it looks like shit. It's CG garbage. He's on a cable. Whereas I'm sure I saw a movie recently enough where a guy, like, gets out the door of a truck and scampers along the side of it, and it's not particularly dynamic, but because it's real, there's a real sense of jeopardy to it. It's much more thrilling just watching somebody kind of struggle to the side of something than...
No, but when I say you have friends that, like, are crazy about it, I mean, I have one friend in particular. It's like it's his creed. It's his life creed is the film Gladiator. He's not a person that would care about the technical aspects. You know,
he just Maximus's philosophy.
Yeah, just the film.
Did he get deep into Marcus Aurelius and?
I have no idea. He's not a movie buff by any means, but I always found it strange how. And I think a lot of people are that way about the film.
The Last Duel. What did you make of the trailer?
I fucking loved Matt Damon's mullet.
I thought it was Theo Von when I saw like a thumbnail for it first. I was like, is that what's happening?
I think it's a good choice though. I'm sure it's I'd say it's one of those things that is probably accurate to the time. You know, that you just haven't seen portrayed in a movie, and it looks a bit weird. That's the kind of feeling I get off it, you know. It's a good trailer though. Apart from the whole based on a true story, I hate when they do that. Or this is whatever. The only one, Fargo, is the only film that's ever done that properly. Fargo's not a true story.
I know that. Yeah, I was just wondering what you.
Fargo starts off. This is a true story.
They just lied, right?
Yeah, it was a joke. You know.
Yeah.
But it always puts me off when I see that. It's like, why can't you just say inspired by true events or something, you know?
Is this a remake of The Duelists or his first film?
I don't think so. It's based on a book by the same name.
That was Scott, wasn't it? That's his first. Yeah. Is he remaking that? Is that what it is? No.
No. So did you watch the trailer?
Yeah.
Okay. The Duelists is like 17th, 18th century, two guys having a beef across, you know, a couple of decades of their life, and every time they meet each other they end up having a fucking fight. This is, by the looks of it,
one duel.
Matt Damon's wife accuses his best friend Adam Driver of a sexual assault, and it becomes a sort of life and death for her whether or not the world believes her. And Matt Damon, standing behind his wife, challenges Driver to a duel to the death. Though there is a moment in the trailer where he goes, "This is more about your honor than mine. You know, this is more about backing yourself up than backing me up."
I looked it up actually. There's something I find very interesting about it. The screenplay is written by someone called Nicole Hollow-Fencer, but it's Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. When was the last time them two wrote a script together?
Wait, are they on as writing?
Yeah, Ben Affleck. Screenplay by Nicole Hollow-Fencer and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
That is interesting.
Good Will Hunting is probably the last time they worked together on a script, is it?
You remember they did like a competition where they were like they got a bunch of indie films, and I think they made a documentary out of finding the script and then funding it and making it. I think they were making stuff together, but I don't know if they've been writing anything. Hold on, I'll give it a look myself.
Like, there's a thing watching the trailer though. I'm suspicious as to whether I don't think it's portraying it as an action movie, but if it's just one duel,
yeah, it doesn't quite. It's one of those things where, like, given the subject matter, I don't think it's an action movie. But the trailer's trying to make it look like it.
The trailer does its best to make it look that way, though.
Matt Damon's got 4 writing credits, and only 2 of them are with Affleck.
And what's the other 2?
One of them's with John Krasinski. The Last Duel, 2021, Promised Land, 2012, Jerry, 2002, and Good Will Hunting, 97. Jerry is Casey Affleck, Matt Damon, and Gus Van Sant writing.
Okay.
A friendship between two young men is tested when they go for a hike in a desert and forget to bring any water or food with them.
So this is the second time Damon and Affleck are working on a script, is it? Together?
Yeah.
That's cool. Because I really like Good Will Hunting. Like, haven't watched it in a long time now. Maybe, hopefully it's...
I think it still holds up. I watched it a couple of years ago again and still enjoy it.
There's been a kind of Hollywood myth for a long time that William Goldman kind of ghost wrote that thing, but one of his books he kind of says, I read it and I gave him some notes. That's about it. There was a whole gangster kind of car chase sequence that was in the original draft that they cut out.
And also, it's good to see Adam Driver get something out of his training that he would have done for Star Wars. Something good came of it.
It is one of those things like Vikings where like every extra or every like actor in Ireland has done some bit of standing around a set with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon at this point. Other trailers, we have Dune. Again, that looks huge. I've never seen the original Dune. Have you seen Lynch's?
When I was a kid, that's why I'm looking forward to this so much, you know, is because I've never read the books. I must have been so young when I watched the movie on TV because it unsettled me an awful lot. There's the kind of the subtext, sexual subtext and things. I remember just being really a little bit freaked out about it, and I was quite young. Probably shouldn't have been watching it. I think I was watching it with my parents. But then I went to...
Sting in his tiny pants?
No, there's a few things. There's the big, horrible, big guy that's... anyone who's watched it, I'm sure they know. But, like, I've always... Then I wanted to go watch it a couple of years ago. I just got the idea. I was like, David Lynch, it must be good. And then I got put off by the fact that even David Lynch has disowned it.
Did either of you watch Jodorowsky's Dune, the documentary about the...
Yeah, that was beautiful. Don't know if it would have been a great film or not.
Yeah,
it certainly looked beautiful.
Any thoughts on Jodorowsky's Dune?
I agree. Like, I mean, the concept art and everything looked superb, but the guy's a lunatic, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's demented.
What was that film he's famous for? That's the big film he's famous for.
El Topo?
Yeah, is it El Topo? There's some crazy fantasy.
There's some assertion that he just raped somebody in the middle of one of those movies, right?
Yeah. It's
fucked.
He's off the chunk.
It's absolutely fucked. Yeah.
So yeah, if I was unsettled as a kid by the original Dune, I'm pretty sure his one would have had me I don't know, wearing all leather gear now.
Yeah. So for context for anyone listening, Jodorowsky's Dune is a documentary from about 2 or 3 years ago. Alejandro Jodorowsky is a South American filmmaker.
Yeah, I think he's Brazilian.
And he made a number of sort of, I don't know, like, what would you call it, like a psychedelic western in the 70s. Lots of drugs involved. Seems to be a goddamn lunatic. But when he got enough commercial credibility to him, he started trying to develop Dune. It was his dream project, and he commissioned a wide range of concept artists to do art, including H.R. Geiger, however you want to say his name, Mobius, a bunch of other people that worked on, I can't remember the names of the painters that did some of the ship design.
He did a comic with Mobius that is absolutely gorgeous, but I haven't been able to finish reading because it's fucking demented.
What's the comic called?
The Inkle. It's gorgeous, like absolutely buy it. It's beautiful. Like I've gone, you know, start to finish looking at it, but in terms of reading it, it is just like clearly off his game while writing this stuff. It's just fucking the most bonkers kind of 60s, 70s sci-fi. Yeah, it's amazing that there's an entire comic of it, all by Mobius. It's amazing, but yeah, the guy's a lunatic.
Batshit. The documentary covers the fact that he basically got a think tank together of concept designers and scriptwriters and casting and put together these pitch books that are 6 inches thick looking at them. They are big motherfuckers, and he printed up about 20 of them and sent them to studios to try and get them made. And they are little Arcs of the Covenant of concept design, and the people that worked on that went on to work on Star Wars and Alien and everything for 30 years after that. But it never got made. He had Orson Welles and Salvador Dali kind of loosely attached as cast.
Yeah. He's Chilean.
Chilean, okay. It's like the Tim Burton Batman thing. It's like a great concept, but the movie would have been chaos. It's nice to see the concept, I guess. But I think if we actually got the movie, not so much. Denis Villeneuve, though, is releasing October, November, December.
I think it's October.
Watching it on watching the trailer on it, I want to be in the IMAX to see this thing. It looks like it's playing with scale.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Well, Blade Runner, I think I went to see it in a normal screen, and the second time I went to see it in IMAX, and it was
It's a different
experience.
film, completely different, yeah. So much of 2049 plays with scale, and like there's so many establishing shots that are just, like something kind of being dwarfed by this immense kind of...
It's like the skylines that were almost like scale. There's just a hole in the wall and you're looking at them.
Yeah, I like that film, but it is a completely different experience. The screen you're watching it on makes, especially in with the music as well, it makes such a difference.
I've had failed attempts watching it on TV, like since it's become available for streaming. It doesn't, like, it's a great film, and I would watch it again. But when you watch it, it's just not got that impact.
No. I've watched it twice, I think, on TV, and I still like it, but it's a very different experience.
I think about, every time I think about it, I think about the scene where the car has crashed on the exterior wall by the water, and the feeling of the sound of the waves crashing against it, and like how small they seem amidst that. Like that, for some reason, that image stuck with me, and it just doesn't hit the same way on my telly. Yeah. Or indeed
but overall,
my iPad in the dark at night.
Blade Runner, it just hit the spot though in terms of being a sequel. It just it didn't feel like one of these RoboCop reboots or something.
Yeah.
It felt like an actual continuation of the story.
Yeah.
It was magic to pull that off, like 30 years later, to make a sequel to that movie and have people be happy with it.
And to have Harrison Ford be the right age. To set it that amount of time afterwards, that's a rare thing.
Yeah. So when is this out? Is it October or December, or when is it?
October 22nd.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's a great, like, the cast is Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Timothy Chalamet. We talked about him last week. Rebecca Ferguson, Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Batista. I think Skarsgård is in as well.
Stellan Peter Alexander.
Stellan.
Well, the reason I'm looking forward to it though is that I think I was saying earlier on, I got sidetracked by going on about the film when I watched it when I was a kid, but it's always been there on the periphery, the story, Dune, and I know how much people love it. So I'm just glad now that we have a director like Denis Villeneuve who's kind of on a roll, maybe not commercially, but definitely critically.
Yeah, I agree.
So I get to see it through the eyes of an auteur,
Absolutely, yeah. I was watching that trailer going, like, this is like the sci-fi Gone with the Wind. It's a book that means a huge amount to a lot of people, and it's never quite had that adaptation that worked. I think they made like a TV movie of it as well at one point, and it's got some parts, and like when you think about John Carter as well, where there's elements of this movie that have been crazy influential on sci-fi, but we've never seen the source material carry over. So I guess high hopes.
The only thing I was thinking about it this morning though, this must have got greenlit before Blade Runner came out.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
because it's a massive film that would have I wouldn't say a totally limited audience, but the pandemic's not going to help it now either more. But like Blade Runner was by all accounts a flop. Well, the original Blade Runner was a flop too, so come back in 20 years they'll probably be making part 3.
Another thing I was thinking about this week, and it's speaking to my own just, I guess, narrow focus. I was what the hell was I watching? I just went, I don't know a young director who's made one film or 2 films and seems to be on the rise. Can you think of anybody like that?
Young?
Yeah, like who's a sort of...
Ryan Coogler?
Yeah.
Coogler's good, yeah.
Although it's not a young person's game, you know.
Well, I know what you mean there, but I just mean like when you saw like what Brick was Rian Johnson's first, and then you got to watch Rian Johnson kind of develop, or when you see Shaun of the Dead, and you're like, oh, this Edgar Wright guy, I like what he's doing. Let's see how he progresses. Who am I supposed to be?
I don't know.
Who's made one film that's cool?
Me personally, now I've two. Matt Reeves and Villeneuve would be two directors that I'm tracking.
Cool.
Like, I'm really looking forward to the Batman. Really looking forward to it.
Was that supposed to be out this year, and then the pandemic happened?
I think it was supposed to be out last year.
The amount of stuff that feels like it's just sitting in cans somewhere waiting to be slotted in.
No, they had to shut it down for a long time because of the pandemic. There was an outbreak on set, I think.
Batman got it.
Yeah, Batman got it.
Apparently, Pattinson and Reeves do not get on.
Really?
At all. Yeah, at all. Like it's put this. They were planning on like doing at least 3 films, and apparently they are not getting on at all, and it's putting the other 2 in jeopardy. But I think the studio wants Pattinson more than they want Reeves.
That's like short-sighted.
Well, he's the front face, and he's the front. It's what the audience sees,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
That's a shame.
How
is that definite though? Is that just Hollywood gossip?
None of it's really been confirmed, but I've kind of read it in a lot of places that the 2 of them apparently, like at first when I heard it was just it was kind of more of a gossipy thing, but it's been reported more and more by a couple of more kind of reputable places that they don't get on for whatever reason.
That's a shame, because Pattinson, I've never actually watched any of his movies. I know I should watch The Lighthouse, but I always just saw him as the guy from Twilight.
Yeah, the thing with that is you start to realise it's been a decade and he's made every good choice since then. It's like,
no, I understand that. Like I know he's made a few good choices there. I just haven't gotten to see them.
Neither
him in that suit though. It's like, it's just for me. It's just Mike Mignolia's Batman in live action. He just has the profile, which I always found really was like Mike Mignola is probably my favorite Batman artist. So it's just like the fact that Matt Reeves is directing it, which like I think the Ape trilogy is probably my favorite trilogy of science fiction films ever. There's a fantastic arc. It elicited an emotional response from me on several occasions, which my cold black heart doesn't do that often. And it's just like, that's a shame if them 2 aren't getting on.
Do you think? I mean, I'm just looking at what like Reeves's theatrical work is: Cloverfield, Let Me In, 2 Planet of the Apes movies, and Batman. Like, I don't know. It's not really worth supposing what they're disagreeing on. I do remember Pattinson sort of like apparently he just vocally said like, I'm not working out for this movie. They'll just put me in a suit and they'll use stuntmen.
I think he was taking the piss with that though.
Is that how he is that what he did?
No, I don't think that was. I think that was. If you've watched interviews with him, like he's quite strange. He's quite kind of quirky and funny, and I think that was more. I think he was kind of trolling people with that because there's such an obsession with when people become a superhero that they have to do this,
the gym ab shot,
the chicken and broccoli thing, and he's clearly in shape. I think he was kind of making a point that he's not going to turn himself into. He's not going to be Hemsworth or Bale. He's just going to, he's in shape. He's a leading man.
Yeah, we saw him in Tenet.
So it's. I think that was just more.
Whatever about Tenet as a film, like
he's one of the best things in
charismatic,
it.
running around. Yeah. Did you see Tenet, Jonzy? Okay. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was okay. All of Christopher Nolan's films, I always find they just have such a high concept, fantastic story idea, but the execution of it always seems to lose me in the third act. It's like the end of what's the war one?
Dunkirk.
Normandy, Dunkirk, when he's like the airplane bit at the end was almost farcical, where it just keeps on cutting out the engine, and he's like, he saves everyone, and he kind of waves as they go by. It was just like, that pulled me out of that film altogether. I was like, why'd they do that?
Bane had to be a hero.
Tenet was a fantastic concept. I don't know if it was successfully told.
No.
Maybe it was a little bit too contrived, you know?
I think it was very much, yeah. But Pattinson was good in it. and John David Washington.
He was.
I think there's a thing where, like, he's got this complaint a number of times now, and it's frustrating that he isn't actually addressing it. We can't hear what you're saying, and you're doing a lot of expositional horse shit under music. And, like, if you're going to do the expositional horse shit, let us hear it. Like, I was fine with it in Interstellar.
Yeah, his justification of it was so weak. Like, he's saying that, you know, audiences have such a low tolerance for, like, anything that's a bit avant-garde or experimental with music, and like, that's bullshit. We can't hear what they're saying. It's not sound design. It's not if it's a
storytelling.
Yeah, if
you have to hear what they're saying.
If it's effects and music during a set piece, fair enough. Yeah, go nuts being experimental with your sound design. When people are talking and you can't hear it, then
it's not experimental. That point, it's just bad levels.
The thing is, you could argue it's experimental. There is an argument to be made that, you know, does it really matter what they're saying, and will moment to moment can the audience follow it? Yeah, okay, that's an experiment. I would argue that it's an unsuccessful one, though.
Yeah,
you have to pull it off.
Yeah, I bought that argument and I was fine with it in Interstellar, and I would just tell people, just lean a little closer and focus and pay attention, and you're fine. But we've done Dunkirk and we've done Tenet since, and it's like it's not working.
That was another third act disaster.
Tenet.
Interstellar, yeah. That fucking bookcase at the end, and then love was what, I don't know. This got really emotional at the end, and after being, I you know me, I'm a Kubrick fan. I was looking for a cold, clinical movie.
Well, speaking of cold and clinical, they put up a trailer for Jackass Forever.
That's the worst.
It's genius. Keep going.
Bam Margera has been has a bar. Jeff Tremaine has a bar order on him.
Is that I saw a video of, like, it said Bar Margera and a hashtag. I couldn't recognize him if it was him.
Yeah, he's gone off the deep end.
He looked like
he looks like his
hobo.
dad.
He looks unwell.
But he looks like, remember his dad, like when he was a young skinny kid and his dad's big man and all. Now he looks like his dad. Maybe his dad was like him when he was younger.
Well, what year did Jackass start? You know,
2000 around.
And then, if not earlier,
2000, 3 seasons from the year 2000.
I liked the show. I liked the whole skateboard, Jeff Tremaine and Spike Jonze kind of. There was creativity in it, you know, kind of a gonzo kind of creativity.
It's not just this kind of cool thing. There was a bit of kind of fun ideas, and again, it kind of guerrilla filmmaking and stuff like that. You know, it's a lot smarter than its surface. You know.
Yeah. Do you remember the English version that MTV had on? It was horrible. Can't even remember what it was called. They were just idiots. You know what I mean? Just copying Jackass.
That thing naturally coalesced with a bunch of people that kind of knew each other and were fucking around with video cameras. Yeah. You can't recreate that shit. Like, they tried it as well with Impractical Jokers, where they just auditioned a bunch of English guys and tried to make an English version of it. But part of why that show worked is those 4 guys have known each other for 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, not to get onto that, but
Spike Jonze, I think, was a big influence on Jackass.
Yeah, he was.
You know, and like I align with his sense of humor, or his, you know, sense of the absurd. You know, but I think with the films, I don't even think I like the first film. I think it jumped the shark by then.
I remember not expecting to like it and seeing it in the cinema and just being in tears. And like, part of that was because I don't even think the cinema was actually full, but seeing it with other people laughing, it was like I was in tears like from start to finish. It's a great cinema experience with a group of people. And like I said, I don't think it was full, but there was other people, and it was this. Yeah, it's a great experience.
I don't think there's rewatch value. Like, I saw the second one in the cinema, and like I know I enjoyed myself, and one of my resounding memories of that whole experience, I can't even remember who I was there with, but I do remember Sofia Kansanyeva getting up and running out of the cinema about to throw up because one of them started drinking horse semen. And like she tried to come back in, started gagging again and left the room. Like that's a great response from a film.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a horror movie in the world that's done that to somebody.
Definitely eliciting an emotional response there.
Mm-hmm. I didn't expect to see another one of these films though. These guys are pushing 50.
They're old.
Yeah. There's what's his name? The main guy,
Knoxville.
Johnny Knoxville. There's a shot of him at the start, and he's like really old, and it's like, yeah, that's about right. I was like, going, geez, yeah, it looked old, but it felt about right. But then later in the trailer, I think it's revealed that he's in costume or something.
Okay. There's a picture of him like that going around, and did you send it to me, Brian? Where the quote is, "I want to see this Joker movie." Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I kind of see it. I saw Steve-O on one of his podcasts, and he just said the one of the things I notice about doing this when you're older is when you get knocked out, it takes longer for you to wake up.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's probably the craziest out of them all, I think.
Yeah,
he was like a circus clown, like Mad Carney, like when he came on board with them. I always liked the Party Boy though. He was just the funniest, and his music was always cool.
I'm on the fence about it because it's kind of sad. Because Knoxville's made some money and he's made a few of these things. Steve-O's leaned heavy into stand-up in the last decade, so he's working. He's between that and his podcast, I'm sure he's financially stable. Some of these guys, this is the thing keeping them going, and it's kind of sad. Like it's
a young person's game.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be doing it at their age.
It's the Shakespeare thing is how ill grey hair fits a clown, you know.
Well, it's like watching Harrison Ford try to, crack a whip in the last Indiana Jones film. He had to use cuts because you're pretty sure he wasn't able to crack the whip.
Will you watch Jackass 3?
I'll avail of it somehow and watch it at home.
You won't go to the cinema?
No.
Brian, would you go to the cinema? You just advocated pretty hard for that being the way to see it.
During normal circumstances, I would. I don't know if I will by the time it's out, but I do think it is the way to see them. Yeah, under normal circumstances, I would be going to the cinema.
All right, best of luck, lads. Please don't die making these stupid films. You were too old for it in 2004. I mentioned the Snake Eyes. There's a final trailer for that thing. I think it's out. We don't need to dwell on that too much.
It's not getting great reviews.
The review I sent you a review, and the headline was, "Dear God, please let me see a fight scene." Like, it's all cut and close-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the reviews they put up on screen was the best G.I. Joe film yet. It's like, that is damning with faint praise.
Not saying a lot.
The first one was okay, wasn't it?
Is that Marlon Wayans in the Iron Man suit?
Not sure. I vaguely remember when it came out. It wouldn't have been on my radar, but I remember it was being billed as one of those films that you expect to be crap, but was actually okay, so I watched it. Can't remember it, so it couldn't have been that good.
I don't remember a moment of it. Yeah. I remembered the same shot I saw on every YouTube ad, every TV show, and every trailer of two guys in kind of Iron Man suits, slow-mo rotating horizontally under a car or something. That's the only impression I have of that film. And then Suicide Squad's out next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you see that clip I sent you?
The guy with the detachable arms?
Yeah.
Is that Nathan Fillion?
Yeah. I'm probably not going to go see it.
That's kind of the question. You're not a gun fan. Jonzy, would you, not saying that you'd go to the cinema in these current circumstances, would you go and see it?
If I was at cinema, yeah, I'd probably go see it. I'm not a gun fan either, but it looks like he's been given a bit of free rein to make it. Is it an R?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. To be honest with you, it wasn't on my radar at all until I saw that clip yesterday where the guy's arms detach and starts slapping everybody, and I went, "Oh, that's funny." Yeah, that gives me some hope.
Kind of ineffectually slapping people.
Yeah, that's a good gag. It's a good sight gag.
Kinnaman going, "I didn't pick the team."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go and see it, but I don't get out to the cinema. It's not. Is it streaming online or is it only cinemas?
I think it's streaming as well.
Okay.
HBO's
streaming
planned for everything this
2021.
year. It was same day and date streaming and cinema. So
Just as you mentioned HBO there, it reminds me that I've seen something saying, at the very least, Michael B. Jordan's production company is involved in the new Superman thing. Is he playing Superman?
there's no word yet whether
He'll be the one playing it, but he's involved in it.
they've been saying for a while that they want to cast a black actor, but whether it will be or not.
I'd like to see him as Superman. I think he'd be a good Superman.
Yeah?
I watched his that Amazon film, the Tom Clancy. Is it Tom Clancy?
Yes. No Remorse Without Remorse.
Without Remorse, yeah, not bad. It started off, I thought it was going to be a real formulaic action film, but it kind of kicks in after the first act. I enjoyed it. I like him. I like him as an actor.
I haven't watched it yet. It does have a sort of like throwback action film look to it in the trailers. You know, it does make me think of like Steven Seagal stuff. Like Hard to Kill. I know, not Steven Seagal stuff as it actually is, but Steven Seagal as an 8-year-old Aidan perceived him as a hero and a role model.
I'd put it more in the Harrison Ford, John Grisham character.
Okay.
Those kind of films. Not after seeing it, but that's what my.
Oh, do you mean the one where he's Jack Ryan? Like
Jack
That's
Ryan.
Clancy as well, actually.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was getting confused. I was thinking, is it a new Jack Ryan that Michael B is playing? But it's not.
Yeah, that confused me when that was coming out as well, because it's the same world. It's Clancy. It's on Amazon, but apparently they're distinguishing the two as separate universes.
Okay.
So you're not going to see John Krasinski popping up, apparently.
No, that was a good film. And like, what was it, Creed? You know, when he was great in Black Panther, he's got presence. He's, you know, he's definitely physically capable.
And he's, I think the kind of the hallmark of somebody that's going to be around for a long, long time is once you start seeing them, everything's coming out under their production company or their moniker, or they're deeply involved. He's making work for himself, you know. He's behind a couple of animation projects. He was involved in one of the Love, Death and Robot things.
It'd just be nice to see them do something with Superman. Different, fresh, you know. It's just so stagnant.
Absolutely. It hasn't been handled. Superman hasn't really been handled great, or they haven't done much with him since Donner. Did we mention Donner a couple of weeks ago? R.I.P. Richard Donner. I know I meant to.
I think we did.
Lethal Weapon, Superman.
Pretty sure we did.
I went to watch Lady Hawk, but I didn't in the end.
What's Lady Hawk?
It's a Richard Donner movie with Michelle Pfeiffer and Matthew Broderick. Medieval thing where a guy turns into a hawk, or a woman turns into a hawk. Haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it at all?
No.
Oh, I've seen it. I remember seeing it on TV a couple of times. I really liked it.
Good?
Yeah, I like it.
It's on Disney Plus.
But I'm also a big Michelle Pfeiffer fan, so you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing it as a kid on some Saturday, kind of loving it. What is this? It's the best thing ever.
Okay. Is there any other sort of trailers or coming outs, things upcoming that you guys want to talk about?
Still pretty quiet, really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple of like horror movies I saw trailers for, but like I'm not a horror movie guy. Neil Blomkamp has one coming.
Neil Blomkamp has a film?
A horror film coming.
What was his last film? Was his last film The Robot? Was it
Chappie.
Was that his last film?
I think so,
Yeah. Did he get involved in some telly stuff? I don't know. He went away for a while anyway. Chappie was underwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Of Blomkamp or Chappie?
Blomkamp.
No, he had a couple of okay films to begin with. District 9, is
District 9 isn't even that great. That was such an overhyped film. Because people hadn't seen something like it before and just blew their minds.
Yeah.
But it's not a great film.
It's got a nice aesthetic.
It does, yeah.
Got a nice aesthetic.
Yeah.
What ruined Chappie for me was
The Antwoord.
The Antwoord. They shouldn't have been in that film.
Yeah. Was there some some assertion that Blomkamp was just into your one Yolandi?
I'm not sure. They're both South African, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like, and they were the zeitgeist at the time for them was quite high, but you know, they're in a lot of trouble now as well, I believe.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
They're racist.
Yeah.
Simply put.
Homophobic. They something about festivals they've been playing. Other artists have been refusing to play with them on the same bill.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about them to pass any comment on them, but they ruined Chappie. Well, Blomkamp ruined Chappie, but like that felt like it should have been like action movie Short Circuit, and it somehow wasn't. Like it looked cool going into it, and then nah.
And what's his new film? Do you know what the...
Give me a moment, because I watched a bunch of trailers this morning, and it's either one where somebody's getting possessed in a virtual reality world. Maybe it's called Demonic. I think it's that one. I watched a bunch of trailers this morning, so Neil Blomkamp, Demonic. A young woman unleashes terrifying demons when supernatural forces at the root of a decades-old rift between mother and daughter are revealed. But it's got a VR component, so she's going into VR to deal with, I guess, I'm really trying to extrapolate here from some trauma, but it actually starts unleashing a demon possession or something. So I guess they're trying to cross The Exorcist with Flatliners and Virtuosity. Yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah, the Lawnmower Man. Yeah, I don't know if I'll probably pass on that one.
I mean, I barely got through the trailer, which is a shame. So we had a little piece of feedback from a listener. This is Catherine. She watched Loki and The Black Widow and wanted to give us her thoughts. If you would like to similarly send in thoughts, reviews, feedback or comments, you can do so at theendlesscast@gmail.com. I'm going to play this now. You guys let me know if you can hear this.
Hey guys, long-time fan. My thoughts on Loki. Disappointing last episode. The whole series, so forgettable, looked cheap, lost the character of Loki completely. You just stepped aside and watched everything happening around. I don't think it's anything to do with the actors and other work that they did. Felt like it was more writing, directing issues. Felt like Owen Wilson was the main character. Same issue as the Winter Soldier Falcon show. Needed a lot of background info from the series to follow what was happening. I felt WandaVision was the strongest on all fronts. So even Winter Soldier offered a great concept of where do you put everyone who came back from Annihilation. Whereas I didn't feel like Loki offered much more. I also, the TVA was too similar to the Umbrella Academy concept. But I think the TVA was the strongest plot element. And just as a side note, I watched Black Widow in the cinema. So first time going to the cinema, and I liked it. But what occurred to me, for a very long time I actually thought Wanda and Black Widow were the same character. So for me anyway, it was an indication of how sidelined those side characters were. And it's great that they finally get to tell more of their story. So thanks very much.
Let's tear her apart, yeah?
Well, for me, I think it's a shame. She felt that way about the last episode. I'm actually like indifferent to every episode leading up to the last episode. I felt like kind of all other episodes were just feeding into this reveal, which was masterfully done. I thought Jonathan Majors just chewed the scenery. You know, it probably came in with what's Loki's actor's
Hiddleston, Tom Hiddleston.
Hiddleston, like, you know, he chews the furniture with him being the Shakespearean actor that he is, but Jonathan Majors just relished in that, and then the dialogue was fantastic.
Yeah, it's, I guess, like, in listening to her review on it, I'm trying to understand the mindset from which he's approaching it. I mean, I know myself and Brian and Kevin anyway, not speaking for you, Bowie, you know, we were kind of deeply involved in what Kang could be leading up to it and what he means for the wider sense of the universe. For that show in that moment, you know, is that a good resolution for somebody who's just invested in these 6 episodes? I don't know. For me, who's looking at the next 5 years of Marvel films, I think it set up so much and was really impressive.
Well, it's 3 people in a room for most of the episode that did not drag at all. It was I was riveted. It's like, I just thought it was just a really neat concept, and I loved the way they did just a full reveal, you know, of everything that was going on, and then what can happen, and also Hiddleston's reaction when Sylvie pushed him away. I thought that was a great scene where he's just kind of going, fuck it.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting watching it. Like, I was trying to, like, what the show was doing in terms of traditional television versus what it was aiming at broadly. Like, I got hung up on, what was Sylvie's plan with those time bombs. I mean, did that do anything? But it didn't matter really in the long run. Like, there were a few points like that. The concept of the temporal buddy cop 7 movie where they're hunting a serial killer, that kind of went out the window in episode 2, didn't it, Brian?
Yeah, I think that was just more. It was a kind of a reference point for them creating it, but it wasn't where they were taking it, and it was a mistake for them to kind of point it out when we didn't know what the show was really about yet, to kind of allude to it that might be where it was going, because I don't think that it was something. It was more a product of the conversation that they were having around it when the episodes were coming out, and not actually something that was present in the episodes itself. So for them to talk about it, it kind of created the wrong impression. I don't think it was necessarily the episode's doing, So
yeah.
I don't think it was a fault of the storytelling in terms of the execution, but more the press around it, episode to episode, was kind of misleading.
I think some of the Marvel people, and maybe it's not their fault, it's more the fans, but how do you tell a group of fans to do it? Managing expectations. Like, people are setting their brains in one direction and then coming away disappointed. And it's like, I think we need to just start taking these things more cold, just see what you get and be surprised. Some of the best films I've ever seen, I didn't know what the fuck, like Lady Hawk, I didn't know what the fuck. One day I just turned on a television and Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi were singing, and I'm like, what is this? And then I watched Blues Brothers all night, There's something to just finding something cold, whereas Marvel fans are looking for scouring comics for every hint of anything that it could be, and then they're disappointed when it's not what they wanted,
Well, that's the thing. I think I would have had a different experience from you. Although listening to the podcast while it was going on, it was the only time I ever heard any kind of discussion about what could be, it's probably, if I hadn't listened to your podcast, I probably would have even been more surprised when Kang revealed himself. But still,
well, we talked ourselves into it not being Kang.
Yeah.
We talked ourselves into it. There's no way they're wasting Kang in this. It's going to be Loki, and then Kang opens the door.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was genuinely surprised when it happened, and it was great.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's one of the questions I was raising, was that how intentional was that? Because did they really want us to be second guessing ourselves, or was it just a happy accident because we had kind of expectations for WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier that didn't really come around? And is it a product of the fact that we had so much kind of doubt in our own guessing? Was all that intentional, or because they had set so many obvious signs that it was Kang? So yeah, like, did they want us to kind of, in that moment, because basically, like, when those elevator doors were opening, the anticipation was so much greater, because I was like, is it going to be Tom Hiddleston or is it going to be Jonathan Majors? Like, which is it going to be? And then it was so much bigger when it was Majors, because it was like, oh wow, they're fucking doing it. They're introducing him here. This is cool.
If it had been Hiddleston, I probably would have just turned it off.
I think it would have been slightly underwhelming to just find.
Yeah.
I had resigned myself to the fact that it was probably going to Hiddleston, but in my head I wanted it to be Richard E. Grant, like a variant of a much older, like that Richard E. Grant Loki was kind of defeated and pathetic to a degree. Even if he was still going on, I was like, let's see a version of old Loki in the Kirby costume who's filled out.
Do you mean not have him earlier in the show? And reveal...
No, I mean just having another variant of him. It's not the one we saw die on the gateway.
Maybe.
Because we saw a dozen Hiddlestons, what's to say the all-powerful version of Loki isn't someone who's survived to an older age and now runs time?
Yeah, I suppose. The shame they killed. Well, I'd like to see Richard E. Grant get something else out of that. That Did you see the Star Wars video he made? He's just so happy. It's almost
He's kind of endearing because he's so happy to just be involved in things.
I always see him as it's Whitnail has finally had success later in life. That's how I always see him.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it feels. Yeah,
he's just got this hangdog fucking thing about him that's like, I don't know. I am happy to see him have success, but he just.
Did you ever see the video?
Reeks of insecurity, doesn't he?
Did you ever see the video Limmy made?
No.
It's a side by side. Limmy's just impersonating him do it. I don't know if it's side by side. Limmy impersonates the video, and it's horrible. It's just such a mean thing to do.
Impersonates the Star Wars thing.
Yeah. He just exaggerates. But even though he's exaggerating it, it's not that far off. I think that's what's so sad about it.
For any listeners, Limmy is a Scottish comedian who has a show on Netflix called Limmy's Show. He has a Twitch channel.
He does, a very successful one.
How would you describe Limmy to somebody who's never heard of Limmy?
Limmy is a Scottish Tim Heidecker.
Okay, that brings me to my next point. You mentioned Tim Heidecker earlier in the week. Tell us about Tim Heidecker's shows, because I went to that YouTube channel and everything was an hour and a half long.
What was an hour and a half long?
I went to his YouTube channel because I said I'd watch some stuff, but I was just looking at hour-long videos and I went, I'm not doing this.
Is there hour-long videos? No, what I was talking about was on cinema. I recently...
So this is Tim Heidecker on cinema?
Yeah.
And what's the concept of it? It is a YouTube show, right?
It's an Adult Swim. I think they're 10 minutes long, and it's just him and Greg Torkington, who's I think he's an underground or an alternative comedian from LA. But they play these two characters where Tim Heidecker does his zealous sociopath character that he does so well, that you don't know what's real and what's not real with him. I don't know if he's really like that in life. And then Greg Torkington is this kind of fanboy of Hollywood movies, and it starts off with them, the dynamic between the two of them reviewing movies. But as it's gone on, I think it's about 8 years now they've been doing it. It's just branched out into a whole separate universe. They in show start talking about writing a show called Decker. It's kind of an action movie thing. They actually did several series of Decker, and it's Tim Heidecker's character from on cinema. It's really meta, you know. And then every year they do the Oscar specials where it's a really hard thing to explain. It's almost like theater, you know.
So when you say it's on cinema, right? Are they I haven't watched it. All right, I'm sorry. But it's making me think of movie review shows.
It is.
It's that. Do they actually review movies?
They do, but half-assed and they give every film basically 5 stars. That's just a pretense for the show. They'll do whatever films are out that week. They'll talk about them, you know. And I think another meta thing that happened was Tim Heidecker ended up getting a cameo in Fantastic Four, and Greg Torkington has a speaking role in Ant-Man, and they were both there at the same time. But it was just the two of them hate each other as it goes on. But it's just a real dysfunctional relationship.
The characters, do the actual actors dislike
the actors,
each other? No,
good friends. That's the thing, is you don't know what's real and what's not.
Where
real.
is the line?
But it's just the stories start with Tim's wife leaving him, then him marrying or getting involved with a Japanese exchange student nanny. Then they have a kid, and he names the kid Tom Cruise Heidecker, and then she leaves him, and this is all going on every week as it goes on. It's just he gets strung out on these drugs, vape, and each week you see him deteriorating, and it's all it's basically what I was saying to you is I've only discovered it in the last year,
right.
And it caused me to go and actually watch Tim and Eric's awesome show, because it was by osmosis, I knew what it was. You'd see it pop up in memes and things like this, but I've fallen into. I subscribe to High Network now, €5 a month. They've taken on cinema off YouTube. And Adult Swim have cancelled it, I think, so they have their own website now. I'm a complete convert.
Well, that's my question then. Can I watch it on YouTube?
You can watch the old ones, yeah. But I'd recommend go on cinema, season 1, episode 1. It's 10 minutes long. Just you really would need to watch them in chronological order, because it ends up a couple of years ago they did a special 4-hour court case where Tim Heidecker organised a music festival and about 20 people died from the drug vape that he was pushing. And then they shot the court case in a real courtroom. I remember before I knew anything about on cinema, I saw it pop up on my YouTube and I was like, is this a real court case? Because and then you watch it, it's crazy. But like, there's so many layers to the universe. It's fantastic. But watch episode 1 and then just watch it as it progresses.
And it just grows naturally out of that.
Yeah, and it's like where they go is just, I don't know. I find it hard. Comedy. I'm very selective about comedy. I find it hard to find stuff that I like, and this is just like, it just does not stop being funny for me. I love the characters, you know.
Cool. Have you ever watched any of that, Brian?
I've seen some of it. I think I've seen more video essays and people talking about it than I've seen actual episodes of and stuff like that. But that's kind of more how I was aware of it.
I think about it like the Eric Andre show as well.
No, yeah.
Because he's got a sort of chat show format, right? Where he brings people on and shit gets weird in 10 minutes.
See, well, this is the thing with on cinema, though. It's played really straight. You know, Tim Heidecker's just an arsehole. His character is just a horrible person, and he uses Greg Turking as a punch bag. You know, he like one of the ongoing jokes is he always has Greg Turkington on as a guest. He'll never give him a co-host credit. And
right, okay.
It goes on for years, and then like once a year they do the Oscar special, where it's usually about 3 or 4 hours long. And it's ad-libbed. It's things that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. But I'd recommend watching at least the first season, and they're only 10 minutes long. And the reason I was thinking of it recently as well is that when I paid for the High Network, purely to get this year's Oscar special, because this was the first year that they didn't have it live on or free on YouTube. And I was watching Limmy's Twitch stream, and he was discussing about buying tickets to watch it as well. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And actually, Tim Heidecker's podcast, they interviewed Limmy last year as well. And Limmy was talking about how in his first season of his show, a lot of people were comparing to Tim and Eric's awesome show in terms of form and content, you know. And Limmy was, when in the interview, was telling Heidecker how it did influence the remaining series of Limmy show. So yeah, it was really weird seeing the two of them together, because they're pretty much couldn't be culturally different, but in terms of this kind of, you know, anger comedy, they both do it really well.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Great recommendation.
5 bags of popcorn, easily.
5 bags of popcorn. Love it. And from that top class piece of entertainment, I'm going to move us on to Netflix's new dating show, Sexy Beasts. We talked about this briefly on a previous episode. We saw the trailer. Brian loved the concept, and I think he sent in an application to the show, right?
This hurts my soul.
So I watched it all. The concept is like, they put, it's like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Let's get to know people's personalities. Can you like somebody without ever seeing what they actually look like? And they put people in really kind of high-end special effects masks for like animal stuff. It's mental. It's a mental show. I don't watch these dating shows stuff. I just kind of like special effects stuff in the same way that Kev likes that show. Like there's a reality show with like competitive makeup artist stuff. I like the effects work. It's kind of interesting. These people, like talking about it in even remotely logical terms is such a complete waste of time, but I'm still going to do it because it's just fabricated horseshit. This person from Atlanta, Georgia wants to meet the love of their life. We're introducing him to a person from Brighton in a hotel in Manchester. It's like, that's not going to work as a relationship. This doesn't work from the offset. They live on completely separate continents. This is bullshit. If that's my biggest problem with it. The people they have on as well, like, one of the guys is dressed as a mandrill, like it's an ape with a big colourful nose in the first episode, and he spends the entire first section going, I think she's going to like me better when she sees me. And it's like, okay, well, this guy's, if this is about proving your personality is what can sell you as a person, this guy proved his personality is dog shit from the very fucking beginning. I enjoyed it, 10 out of 10. Kevin sent a review, and I'm going to play this. He wanted to contribute to this week's episode, even though he couldn't make it today.
Howdy folks, howdy Brian, Aidan and Jonz. My thoughts on Sexy Beasts. I think the show set out to prove that beauty is only skin deep and it's all about personality. However, that's true. But if you, regardless of how you look, if you look like a weird animal of some sort, and you have a shit personality, you're still not great. And if you remove that makeup and you're good looking, semi good looking, or not good looking, it's all irrelevant if you have a shit personality, basically.
He's killing me. What
the
is
people on
going
the
on?
show are weird.
I think his last dying words.
Why did they all want to fall in love like so desperately? It's like, you're not bloody 45. You're not even fucking 25. You're probably 21. I don't get it. God, the people on it were the worst. They were vapid and weird and crazy and creepy. So creepy. Honestly, like, sometimes you look at it and you'd be like, ha ha ha, that's kind of funny, or that person's like quirky, weird, funny. And then you see them with the personality, or then you see how they actually look like. And it's like that personality doesn't suit that looks, and now you're just kind of a creep. It's like kind of, they're all so socially awkward and weird. It's like, why haven't they developed normal social skills and cues? It's just weird. And they're intense as fuck. Like, one date with some sort of beaver human hybrid, and they're like, yeah, I don't care what he looks like, I'm in love. They're the most amazing things that ever happened in my life, and I can't wait to marry them and have kids. And it's just like, what? It's like the instant gratification that society wants today has stressed so far that it's even in our love lives. I don't get it. Mental show. Yeah, wild. Absolutely wild. Because there's animals, and the animals are wild. No, I don't get it. Weird show. I don't like it. Would I watch season 2 of it? Yes, of course I would. I'm not stupid. The makeup was awesome. Every episode I watched it, I would pick which one I liked best. The ultimate winner, I think, was Dinosaur Girl or Grasshopper Man. They were brilliant. I think Emer loved Grasshopper Man, or Dinosaur Girl, and I loved Grasshopper Man. Some people on the show were nice. Some people were pretty sweet. Archie the statue, I liked him. Grasshopper Man seemed pretty sweet, and Dinosaur Girls seemed pretty nice. They were probably the nicest people. There were some absolute stranger danger characters on it. Mandrill being one. He was very scary. Very scary. Don't know. The show, is it problematic? I have no idea. However, it sets out to prove that beauty is only skin deep, where it does the opposite. It literally shows me that, like, no, personality can only take you so far as well. Like, you could be a, like, well, I suppose it does prove beauty is only skin deep, because personality only takes you so far. But then all the people on the show had terrible personalities, so they didn't pick the best examples, really. That's what I'm trying to say. The show's awful. You know a show's bad when it has people in animal costumes and the furry community doesn't like it. Anyways, peace out, guys. This also includes as my appearance on the podcast, so I haven't missed an episode yet. So screw you guys.
Is he stoned? What's happening?
Is he on a wine testing
This is a
holiday?
bit.
What's with the surprise? What kind of people do you think are going to put themselves forward for a show like that?
Do you know what was weird to me beyond the whole concept of the show? In this day and age, on a Netflix production, I watched 6 episodes of it, and they just went cis relationship each time. I was like, there's not going to be one gay couple or lesbian couple. There's no diversity in that regards in this show. That's kind of weird for a show in 2021 that centers around dating to not do any of that. Am I wrong?
Here's the thing. I like the show First Dates. I think it's a good show. I like seeing people meeting for the first time in a restaurant. I think it's one of the more genuine reality TV shows out there. I like that show. Just like, whose idea was this, and why? And why is it a thing? And why are we still talking about it?
The Masked Dancer.
It's a horrible idea.
The Masked Singer, The Masked Dancer, and then this.
It doesn't matter if it's a good idea or not. It's just, if it's successful once, let's try and do this with something else.
There's a dating show, I think, I don't know what it's called. I think it's called like Two to Tango, where they teach 2 people a dance. Like, there's 2 parts to the dance. They each learn, it's a choreographed couples dance. And the first time they meet each other, it's in like a staged set where they just do the dance, and it's like a musical meeting. Do you know what I mean? These shows are getting pretty high concept, is basically what I'm saying, and it's not really going to add much to the relationship, right?
They don't need to be.
This is the thing, though. These people are all psychologically vetted to be the most conflict possible. You know what I mean? It's like, no one cares on the production about whether they're going to find true love or anything. They want to get the crazies in, to get people laughing.
There's a guy who keeps showing off his muscles. He's clearly a bodybuilder, and they do the reveal at the end where they meet each other without the masks. And he's like, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. Here, let me do this." And he takes off his jacket, and you think they're outside, he's going to hand her the jacket. But he just puts the jacket on the ground and does a fucking muscle pose and turns 360 degrees, and you see her just go...
He probably did that in his interview, and the production team went, "Can you do that again when you come and take the suit off?"
Make it seem like you're going to do something human and empathetic, and then just drop your jacket and spin 360 degrees and go drink it all in. Weird. Sexy Beast is available on Netflix. Everybody give it a watch.
When I saw the clip yesterday, actually, I thought it was a scripted comedy show. No, but like, it's the clip. I didn't clock it as a reality show. I thought it was a comedy show.
If you had told me that was SNL, I would have said, wow, they really put the budget up for fucking costumes on SNL. Like, I don't know. Is it scripted? Maybe I should go back and look at the credits and look for writers.
It's not scripted, but it's definitely contrived and it's edited. It's like, Tom Segura is on the Two Bears podcast a while ago. He was talking about how that's why he started off as an editor on reality shows. And he said all
reality shows are scripted.
Yeah, the things that they do, they like you say, I used to enjoy the old Big Brother years ago. Not because of the characters, I didn't care about them. It's the team that were making that show were sadistic, and they do things to really cause conflict, and it was just like, it was enjoyable to watch.
Like, this stuff hurts my soul. Like, I can't watch reality TV. It's just, it really does. It makes me want to throw myself in front of traffic. It hurts to watch. I feel bad watching it. My life feels cheaper watching it every second. I hate it.
I think they work if you're watching it with someone else, usually a significant other. That's my experience of them. Or I wouldn't watch them alone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I watched them on my own. We're on Netflix. Let's get to the main meat of today's podcast. He-Man. Let me rephrase. Masters of the Universe. Mm-hmm. Did y'all watch Powerhouse Animation, Netflix production, Kevin Smith show running, Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
Brian?
It's bad.
Did you watch it all though?
Yes.
Okay.
It's bad.
I wouldn't go so far as saying it's bad. I'm just indifferent to it.
Yeah, I think with this, like, let's try and find some of the good in it, because it is aimed at it's a kids show to begin with, but it is also aimed
at kids, because episode 1 starting off assumes we know who all these characters are. When like the sorceress blasts Skeletor, that's supposed to be a big moment because we're coming in watching it with like 30 odd years of knowing the background, and it's a big deal. I don't think this is for kids. I think it's made for people who grew up with it, watching it.
I remember a few years ago something about He-Man was really popular with kids. I think it was released on YouTube for free, and it was like in an effort to build up brand awareness. So I think I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think they have created an audience in preparation for this big onslaught. You know. Either way, though, I watched it when I was a kid, and nothing that happened in it really made me care about. It was an animated TV ad, you know.
Yeah, there's a thing with this sort of show, like there were fucking nerds giving out about the Thundercats Go show as well, where it's like, this isn't the Thundercats show we wanted. Like, there's been so many versions of He-Man. I'm just happy to get different versions of things, and just rest assured, if you didn't like this one, give it a few years, the next one's coming. He-Man and the Master of the Universe is 1983. They made a show in 1990 that was much more sci-fi themed. He travelled to the future. I don't know if you remember that one. He was blonde and had a ponytail.
No. Vaguely.
They remade, or they did a different interpretation of the original concept in 2002. And now we have Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is claiming to be the original series kind of turned up to 11.
The thing about He-Man is, though, it died a death. It's like the TV show just became ridiculous. So I think I watched one of those Netflix documentaries on it there last year about how they just went
probably the toys
crazy with the toys. No, I think it was more about the show itself, the shows that made it. That the Mattel just started creating all these crazy characters that were just silly, just pushing them into the show, and the show tapered off, and then I think the death knell was the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then for like little 10-year-old me or whatever, for me, I don't remember lamenting the loss of He-Man. I think I just moved off. It was just, you know, I'm sure people, I don't know, I'm not big for nostalgia, you know. I know there's people out there, there's an audience that like reminds them of, you know, eating cereal in their pajamas, watching TV and watching cartoons. So I don't think I have that connection with it. But in terms of the show, I think they did the best job they can do with the source material.
So just before we get a little bit deeper into, and like we're going to tear it apart because we tear everything apart, and I'm going to try and flag stuff I liked because I'd like to try and bring a bit of the positive to things as well. It's the same world that we saw in the 80s. Powerhouse is doing their thing. It looks cool. We have a battle at Castle Grayskull, and He-Man is lost. He is killed. Adam is dead. The sword of power is split into two and sent to various underworld overworlds. The rest of the series is a kind of hero's quest thing, kind of probably straight Campbellian if I start ticking boxes. Try to find the swords to bring back the power to Grayskull, and you know, the show kind of gives us He-Man back towards the end, and it becomes then about Anshur, Teela, Evelyn, who else? We
Orko.
See Man of Arms. Orko's there as well.
Beastmaster. Triclops.
Yeah, we do get to see Triclops. I forgot his fucking name. They stuck with all the goofy ass toy names. There's a Skull Nightmare character who glows in the dark, and this is pure like we have the toy doing it, so his name is Scareglow.
Triclops confused me. What's the Yeah, the deal with him is his eyes changed to emote his emotions, isn't it? To communicate his emotions. But I don't think when they flicked, they didn't really look like they were. I wasn't reading up what emotion.
One was a circle, one was a square,
Yeah,
and one
yeah.
was a triangle. I guess I don't remember that character that well.
I could have sworn that his shtick was that he emotes through his eyes. If he's angry, he had an angry eye. Like,
There's definitely a contingent of the internet that are annoyed that there are women in the leading roles of this thing.
fuck him.
Fuck him.
Fuck them, essentially, yeah. Giving them the broadest benefit of the doubt you possibly can, I can go, I guess they wanted a He-Man show, and he isn't the protagonist of this, but the show is called Masters of the Universe, not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And a great clue is you've got Sarah Michelle Gellar, Lena Headey, Liam Cunningham, Mark Hamill
As the Joker.
As the Joker. You've got Kevin Conroy. You have a huge cast of voice actors, and He-Man is played by a guy called Chris Wood. And is he in the Vampire Diaries or something? I don't know who the man is, and that's not to slight the guy, but if you wanted to know who the lead is, they cast Sarah Michelle Gellar.
One good thing was they differentiated Adam and He-Man physically.
That never made sense in the 80s.
No.
I guess you had the molds already made.
It did make sense.
It
It was
made
a
the
cheap
most.
production.
Yeah.
What did you think of the animation then, Brian?
Not good.
Oh, good.
It's not. Look, when things are in motion, you can make allowances when it's a bit limited. You're like, okay, look, things are kind of caught for time. But there's a lot of times where it's like a still shot of a character's face or something, and it's
Blinks.
It's bad.
I was checking blinks. There was very few blinks.
Blinking is thinking, as Keith Foran used to say, and probably still does. I was looking at it going, there is some really weird staging here that is like really flat, odd profile poses of characters. Like that, are they trying to emulate the 80s limitedness here? Because that looked awful in a couple of places, and especially in that first episode.
To be honest with you, wearing my layout hat, I was starting to do that a lot during it. It's like when I'm not enjoying something so much, or I'll just start looking at it technically. And there was a lot of shots I was looking at going, oh, I can just imagine the wars going on in the production office with the director and the crew, like, you know, about how are we going to do this shot. And like, there was one shot where when Evelyn was pretending to be the old lady, and instead of handing in the bag of gems, she just throws it on the ground.
Yeah.
And I was
did
thinking,
think that was on.
and I was like, what I automatically started thinking then was, there must have been like several meetings with the animation leads and layout and the director about, look, this is we don't have the rig for this, we don't have this, and he goes, just have her throw it on the ground. That's what I'm saying. That's what I start looking at, and it does look good. Like, I think I find what they're going for is kind of an in-between the original show and the kind of heavy metal 70s, 80s fantasy kind of art, which I was never a fan of. The elongated kind of facial structures and things like that. It kind of works with the colours. But the animation, though, I just found, why didn't they just do it in Toon Boom or something and have it fluid? Especially something that's going to have a lot of fight scenes, you know?
I think they do a lot of the animation in Toon Boom, but it's hand-drawn. Like, I think it's a Harmony hand-drawn stuff. You'll see that in Castlevania as well. If you follow Samuel or Adam Dietz on Twitter, they post their like work-in-progress stuff. And their stuff is cool. Like, if you watch the opening of Castlevania, the sort of, especially season 1, the fire effects stuff, I think he said he animated that in Flash over a weekend, just hand drawn, and then all After Effects to fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. The
CG stuff looked horrible.
What CG stuff was there?
The vehicles they're riding around on.
Yeah. Just to repeat animation loop.
Yeah, well, even just like, you know, it's a tank with a dinosaur head, and it just looks janky.
No, and again, going back to my professional experience, whenever I see that in 3D, like I worked on a show where the go-to expression was when something in the boards was too complicated, vehicle-wise or anything, we'll just CG it, even though there was no pipeline set up to handle this CG. So again, when I was watching it,
did I work on that production?
No. Oh, yeah, you're one of them. There was a more recent one that was a big thing. Okay. But yeah, that's what I was looking at. I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting, when I'm watching it. But I just felt maybe that wasn't as well funded a project as it should have been for what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I did see an article where some Japanese studios or some people with, I don't know if it came from Cartoon Brew or where, but the assertion was that Netflix has moved into animation and is paying anime studios, but they're paying them bottom dollar. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, fuck it, you're making 200 million subscribers, $10 a month. Like, give us a month's worth and let's make something decent,
Nah, well, that's the exposure them studios will get, and it's like Netflix wants as much content as possible,
Yeah, that's, I don't know. It hurts if you don't make it good content, though. So, what about the story then, right? Because the first episode is very much like, here's all the characters you know and love. Here's Adam doing his I have the power thing. And then we get into a story. Did you enjoy the story?
Simple. It's like they go here, they go there, they go here, then they go there, and then it's over.
Brian? I didn't like it. I didn't see the point. I just don't think it was good. Like, it really wants to shock and subvert in the first episode, and that's fine. But I just don't think it had anything new or interesting to do with the characters.
Would you like to see a He-Man show?
I'd like to see I was excited about the She-Ra show first because I was a fan of Nimona. Yeah, so I thought that was a great comic, so I was really kind of excited. I couldn't get into it, but I don't think it's a bad show. I think it was more that it that show definitely skewed.
It definitely had a lot of front-loading introducing
but not even that. I really think it was more for kids. It really didn't feel like, I didn't get into it, but I don't think that was anything to do with the show being bad. And I think in terms of like production and writing, it was a much better show than this is. And it was trying to do something interesting with these characters that are essentially kind of came from, a toy commercial.
Would she rescue to slightly older kids though?
I felt it was younger.
Really?
Yeah, but again, I haven't watched all of it, but I did, I couldn't get into it, but I did think it was a good production, and kind of comparing. I was surprised that they were, when they announced that Smith was doing He-Man kind of shortly after She-Ra had aired. It was going to be quite different to what they had done over there. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know if that's the best idea, but I'll give it a look when it finally comes out. But yeah, I just don't think it's doing anything interesting.
I saw somebody say about animation production, this was from like a development person, that like, if you're aiming at an audience of 6 to 9, the true audience is 5 to 7. That's what sort of Ben 10's mindset is. We sell it as a 6 to 9 year old thing, but we know the people really watching it are just that bit younger because the younger kids are watching above. This Powerhouse with Castlevania, Seis Manos, and Blood of Zeus have sort of aimed at, much more adult orientated animation with a bit heavier violence. This doesn't really do any of that, does it? I mean, there's 2 instances where a sword comes into play and someone actually gets run through, but
that's
it's
the
kind
thing.
of
like you can't do that in a kid's
show.
You can't show somebody being impaled or penetrated in a kid's show.
The lockjaw scene was ridiculous. Where I think it's Tila or her companion. It's her companion. What was her companion's name? The shot though that she has where she uses the saw blade on Lockjaw and it doesn't show it making contact, and then it cuts away for ages. And I'm like, did she kill him? Because the saw blade goes right into his head, into his face, you know? Like, he has the helmet, and then later on in the show, Lockjaw shows up again, and he's got like a crack in his helmet. But it was like, it was just a weird thing to do, you know? Because like, by rights, the way it was set up, she should have like cleaved his head in half.
Yeah. It's like the first episode just felt like a little nostalgia trip. Let's see everybody doing everything. Here's Man of Arms, here's Triclops, here's Beastmaster, here's whatever, and everybody getting a look in. As it went on, I did enjoy it more once they started introducing the world bit of it. I had fun with it. I did have fun with it, and like you, not to put words in your mouth, Bowie, but you know, your first reaction was bad, but by the end of it, you were like, it's kind of alright.
I know I was being sarcastic when I posted that.
Oh, alright.
I was waiting. If you hadn't responded, I would have told you. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
So what? You broadly thought it just was bad?
Indifferent. I have no passion either way. You know, it was fine. It didn't wow me on any level. It didn't surprise me or go, oh, that's a really interesting take. You know, it's like, it was just like, you wouldn't know Kevin Smith had anything to do with it if you didn't.
There's a couple of shitty puns in there.
Oh, the puns are ridiculous.
A couple of like references to like, there's a couple of like,
the puns were just
vaguely literary references that like I know he loves and says a lot.
Right, well,
I feel like that's him.
When I say you wouldn't know he wrote it, I meant more along the lines of, you know, snappy dialogue of what he used to be known for anyway. But like the puns were ridiculous. They stuck out for me. And I was like, oh, who the fuck is writing this?
So if you have to watch some He-Man content, we recommend Dolph Lundgren's Masters of the Universe from 1987, I think.
Which isn't that bad a film. I watched
I'd watch it in Highlander in an evening.
I watched a video essay on it there a while ago. It's an interesting story as well. they ran out of money.
Go on.
Towards the last few shots, they went over budget, and the studio, I think it was Orion, they wouldn't give them the money, and so they ended up just going in and filming the fight scene between Skeletor and He-Man at the end over a weekend in a soundstage or something. That's why it looks so bad. Because He-Man wasn't being successful then, you know. I think the movie.
The movie was 1987 and the show was 83.
Yeah,
so I think the show was done. I
think the movie missed. And plus the fact they call it Masters of the Universe. I when I was a kid, I was like, why is it called Masters of the Universe? It's He-Man.
I remember seeing that film for the first time and being completely confused when it ended up in like a music shop in Los Angeles somewhere.
No, that was budget reasons as well, yeah.
It was so weird. It was just like, right, you gave up on this idea and immediately had to get them into Fish Out of... Like, was the Star Trek movie where they went to San Francisco out around the same time?
Possibly. Still that, yeah, but I believe... I can't remember this video essay I watched about it, but I think the whole bringing them to Earth was just budgetary. They couldn't afford to make a fantasy film.
That's so weird. Young Courtney Cox as well.
Mm-hmm. Who plays Skeletor? Because he's really good. He does a bit of
Frank Langella.
Yeah, he does some
which is mad.
Tune up the scenery.
Right. Well, that's our review of Masters of the Universe. There's 5 more episodes coming. Will you watch the back 5?
If you have me on as a guest again at the same time.
If we make you.
They can put that on the back of the DVD.
Oh, we got to bring you back, so Jonz.
Yeah.
No.
That's a threat.
Right, well then let's move on into the last little phase of it. There was some video game stuff this week as well. Battlefield Portal put out a trailer. I know Jonzy looked at that. Did you look at that at all?
I did.
Nah.
Brian, that's not your type of game, really, is it? The FPS stuff.
It's not my type of game either, though. It's I like keeping up to date on them, though. You know.
Are you playing anything at the moment, Brian? Or are you just
No, too busy at the moment.
Too busy. Yeah. Okay. Like, there's a Battlefield game coming out called 2042, and it's another Battlefield game, future tech, big destructible environments. But during the week, they put up a trailer for a thing called Battlefield Portal, which seems to be a real sort of sandboxy way to get into Battlefield. There's a lot of maps from the last 6 Battlefield games revamped for modern graphics and modern design. You can play as soldiers from any of those games. So you can be a 1940s World War II ally or German. But you can also do a lot of customizable gameplay where you put you can build these specific game types and share them. So one of the examples they showed was a squad of 4 soldiers from 2042 fight 32 World War II Nazis. So it's how asymmetric gameplay there. You've got modern tech versus quality versus quantity, I think was the name of the game type. There's some interesting variety or customization available. What are your thoughts on it, Jonz?
They're doing everything right, really, I suppose, to compete with Warzone. They're differentiating themselves. The user created content, from what I can see, from what I've read and seen videos on, the diehards are really happy, with the user created content. And like you were saying, the asymmetric, that even I find that interesting. 4 people with high tech gear going up against, was either World War One or World War Two, I'm not sure, but just going up against 30 of them. I think that's the kind of thing that they need to do to differentiate themselves from Warzone. But again, it's not my type of game. But on a side note, Battlefield 1 is currently free on Amazon Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can download Battlefield 1, and then in 2 weeks Battlefield 5 will be free to download. So if you wanted to get familiar with them, if you have an Amazon Prime, you can get download codes.
Where am I downloading it then? Do Amazon have a game platform?
No, Steam, I think. I think Battlefield 1 is free this weekend in general, I think. But I think it's the Amazon Prime thing. So if you were interested in getting into, I don't think you've played them, have you?
No. I'll have a look though. I think I played Battlefield 1 a little bit on your PS4 when it came out. I was over at your gaff.
And they've taken an extra year or so with this one, They really, so I don't know, I like the tech. If it'll probably come to Game Pass pretty quickly anyway, so I don't think I'll be buying it.
It's definitely going to pull people in who are just curious to play around with stuff,
Yeah, it's multiplayer only though. That's I think I always buy Battlefield, at least when it's on discount, just to play the single player campaigns, and then I always remember, these are crap. So they've just done away with the single player campaign. The thing about sales they're concerned is they're charging full price for a multiplayer game.
And then they're going to try and microtransaction you to death inside of it as well.
Well, no, I think
costumes and weaponry.
The costumes and weaponry. I think I've learned, particularly DICE, have learned their lesson from Battlefront 2.
What did they do on Battlefront 2?
Sort of crazy gambling, loot crates, and just caused a furor. They took them out, I think.
So you could pay for upgrades, but you weren't guaranteed anything out of them.
Yeah, and it was in some court in Belgium, I think they ruled that it was gambling, and encouraging underage players to gamble, because you pay for something that you don't necessarily know you're going to get. It's a gamble. No, I think that was a massive thing a few years ago. They'd be stupid. Every new game you hear coming out, they're always the developers are always keen to stress.
Game,
Yeah, well, the developers are always keen to stress. There's no microtransactions, or there is small, transactions for cosmetics, whatever.
But you can't pay to win.
No.
There
was a rumor the new Battlefield was going to come to Game Pass day one, which would have been cool. But I don't think that's going to happen. Now that EA have the partnership with Game Pass.
Well, that game's coming out in October as well, I think. So I'm going to keep my eye out for that. I'm me and the people I play Warzone with, we're still playing it, but there's definitely a fatigue on it where it's it's a year and a half to 2 years of that game at this point, and they haven't changed Verdansk much. They'll argue they have, but I know where I'm going. I'd love an entirely different map, and Battlefield looks to be providing it. But there's no battle royale in that game. Whatever the game types are, there's no constricting circles, which seems like I guess they're trying to differentiate themselves from what those other battle royale games do, but it also seems like I don't know. I mean, maybe if you put it in, it's the only thing that would get played.
Well, no, that's what I was talking about. No, well, they didn't, because they did it in Battlefield 5 and it flopped.
It didn't work out, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they should. It's like that's why I'm saying they're differentiating themselves from Call of Duty Warzone. You know, it's like just they do it and they do it right, and they've got the numbers. So let's go and do something else.
Fair enough.
The maps are huge, though.
They look it, yeah.
No, like they've always been Battlefield maps have always been huge. And I think it's 120 a side in some of them this time.
The only Battlefield game I've played is Bad Company on the PlayStation 3, and I think I took 5 times longer to play that game than anyone else because I just wouldn't walk down a road. I just went through walls. I found that fucking great fun. Just was like, I'm just going to go straight line through the map. The other thing is, we talked briefly about the Steam Deck last week. Have you any thoughts on it? Like, I know you sent me that Digital Foundry video. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we were talking about for our listeners who maybe aren't too familiar with the technical side of things and be wondering, should I get this or a Switch? You know.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to look at the specs on it? Like, what do you think?
Yeah. Technically, the specs are about the same as an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, but with much newer parts and technical specs. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of equipment's going to get much better performance. Yeah, and things like that. But like, and the fact that they've limited the screen to 800p, they've basically, what they've tried to achieve is make a cheap product that you can play current, so they say, current PC games at maybe decent enough settings at locked 30 frames a second on the go, which is like fantastic, particularly if you have a Steam account with a lot of games. You know?
I don't download enough games to know, and like I was talking about it kind of out of my arse last week, but like the base model 64 gigs, is that viable for playing much? That's not, is it?
No, you wouldn't even fit a game on it. Like you wouldn't even fit Warzone on it. But it's expandable, and you can put in an SSD into that 64 gig. But from what I've heard, and I think Digital Foundry were saying, you're just better off biting the bullet and getting the 512 gig SSD. I'm not interested in it now myself, but it's curious. It's curious because they've sold out the pre-orders like in a flash.
Yeah.
Now, that could be just the PC diehards. There's a lot of them, you know. But
it feels like the goal would be to get the person who's going to buy a Switch and sit on their couch to invest in this and get them into the PC environment, the infrastructure.
Yeah. I don't know. They're not pushed though either on selling too many. They've come up with it. I think it's an anti-scalper thing where you can only buy it through a Steam account that's made several purchases before.
All right.
Yeah. So that's
that's weird.
So like, if you wanted to Switch, it's like having to have a Nintendo account where you've bought a few games before you even try to buy the Switch. But they know what they're doing. It is an anti-scalper thing, and I think it's commendable.
Do they know what? I mean, okay. Valve have tried to make hardware before, or no?
Yeah. Well, I bought the Vive. HTC built that, but it was designed by Valve, but it was sold. No, wait, did I?
HTC is in conjunction with Valve.
Yeah, I know the Steam controller was sold through the Steam app, which is like, you know, I've never used it, but I have heard people talk about it, that it is quite effective for mouse controlling games. It just didn't sell well, but all the research they've done into that now has gone into the Steam Deck for the touchpads on that. Like,
if I were playing Warzone on a Steam controller, does that count as controller? Does that count as... It's not keyboard and mouse, really, is it?
Well, it would be not keyboard and mouse, but you'd have the controls of a mouse with the touchpads. Like, I've never used them, so I can't speak to them, but they know how hard you're pressing on them. They're haptic and have the haptic feedback and everything, and they're supposed to be like, I watched a few YouTube videos of people who tested it out, like, and they were like saying it's pretty much like using a mouse and keyboard.
I guess it's kind of fitting a kind of Switch profile. Do you still play your Switch, Brian?
I do. Yeah.
Like, that's 5 years old at this point, is it?
2016, four at
I
least.
think. 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you, like, because I haven't had a handheld, I guess, like that, and even as a handheld, the Switch feels kind of big. Like, are you using it portably, or are you just does it leave the house ever?
I've used it portably once or twice, depending on the game I'm playing. Like Hades is a great one to kind of play portably, because it's a great game that you might think you're going to play it for 15 minutes and end up playing it for an hour or two, or you might just play it for 15 minutes and put it back down. So stuff like Hades I do play portably, but that was never the main selling point for me, the portable thing, because like if I'm going somewhere or doing something, I'm probably
You're going somewhere doing something.
Exactly.
Yeah, because this thing is 12 inches long, the Steam Deck. Like, it's a big piece of thing. Like, it feels like it'll sit on a coffee table. But it's not going
big.
in your bag on the bus. Like,
It is a little bit wider, but the thing, and it does, in the photos, I don't know, it looks big, but it's just got chunky side handles. The unit itself's pretty slim.
yeah, no,
It comes with a case.
yeah.
They know it's
Yeah.
it's not. It's like Switch isn't that portable either, though. You have to put. I got a
Well,
case.
that's
in
kind
it.
of what I'm saying. Like, like this concept of portable gaming, like the two things that are kind of. I guess the only thing is, like, it's not so much portable as it is not on your television. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, no,
parents can watch a movie and kids can go into another room.
It is like you want the screen size. The screen size is going to dictate a lot, you know. Like if you're going to be playing on the go, like I only time I ever used my Switch was when I'd be flying back for holidays or whatever. I'd played in the airport. Like the big screen is nice, you know, and like you're not going to carry it around in your pocket anyway, so you're always going to have it in a rucksack or something.
Fair enough.
But I don't think this competes. This isn't trying to compete with the Switch.
No, but I guess it's just a similar. Like, if you're selling that to people that aren't into PC games, it kind of looks familiar to them. Do you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, there is plenty of these things out. I think the main thing is this is like the first chance or attempt at homogenizing it, having a set platform to target. Because like, there's one good thing about it is, if developers pick it up, they can have. Hopefully they do it. Like, is just have a switch for the settings. So if you want 60 frames, because like, I stopped playing PC when the new generation of consoles came out because I just really got sick of fiddling with settings to get the performance that I want. Like when I first got my graphics card 4 years ago, it wasn't an issue really because it was pretty powerful for the time. So I was able to put up everything up max, you know, and just go with it. But then as time went on, I'd spend more time optimizing the game. Almost some games once I got it optimized as much as I could, I'd just stop playing it.
That was the game.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and like what I love about the consoles is like I've learned. I think if I could have a monster PC where I don't have to worry about settings, that's. But like your general audience, they really need something like that for this. If they want to go beyond PC hardcore, you need to have an almost console way of like just having a slider to say, do you want performance mode or do you want quality mode, and then have them set to be locked and a smooth experience. You know, because if most people wouldn't have a clue what they're looking at when they go into PC settings.
Yeah, and like I mentioned to you already that I picked up that, like last week I talked about the Anbernic RG351M, so M stands for the metal. It's a really nice build, and it comes with a couple of hundred games already loaded onto it, and you can just take it out of the box and start playing things. Yeah. But I've been watching Retro Gamecore videos over on YouTube. That guy's channel's great. He's very sort of step-by-step and user-friendly, going through how to... Like, he reviews each of these things to death. He goes into the settings on each thing. He shows you how to mess around with the shaders. He lays out as well, like, if you're brand new and you just want to open a box and play it, this is what you do. Grand. If you want to get a little more fiddly, there are benefits to, it comes with a little SD card, but it's generic and prone to failure, so get yourself a decent one at 128 gigs. Flash on this operating system called ArcOS. Throw your games onto it. It, like, you can just start playing then, but you can also put in this scraper function, which takes a little still shot or a little video for each thing. So when your interface is playing, you get little like play videos of what the game is underneath it. There's some really nice tips for how to use it from Retro Game Core. Like even down to like you can change the loading image on it. So like now between loading games on the thing, the Endless Stream logo comes up on screen. Like that's my loading screen. I like it. The Endless Stream guys, follow the Endless Stream at the Endless Cast on Instagram. Plug.
What platforms does it support?
So ArcOS is a operating system based on Linux for emulation of games universally. So when you install ArcOS, it builds a folder structure onto that SD card of 120 different consoles, and whatever you put in there, it reads through. Now, off the back of the default card, it came with 23 consoles, games for 23 consoles. Neo Geo, NES, Genesis, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, Game Gear, Dreamcast, and there's some stuff I don't quite recognize,
Dreamcast?
but it's based. Yeah, there's a couple
What
of
do the Dreamcast
games
games run like?
That's the high end of it. Dreamcast
Yeah.
and then 64 is where you start to see slowdown.
Okay.
And he talks about that, you know, like the PSP he talks specifically about as well, where it's like, look, the thing isn't there yet. I'm playing the God of War game for PSP and I'm getting 17 frames per second rather than 30. And there he went through like there's adaptations and stuff that is making it run much better. But that channel, again, I keep saying it because I have lived on that channel for the last week, Retro Game Core. He took the Steam Deck apart as well and was like, this is an open operating system with a lot of power, so emulation is about to take a big jump as far as he's concerned.
Yeah. You can install Windows on it.
Yep. So I'm happy that I've got this thing all set up. It's a lovely little piece of kit, and I'm going to go and play games for the afternoon on it. I lie, I'm going to edit a podcast. But it's a really nice little thing. Like my brother was looking for something to play on TV with mates, and now I don't have a solution for that. But this thing is, I mean, you can see it. I'm going to put up a little video on the Instagram account as well of the unboxing. It's a little thicker than my phone. I'd say it's half again as thick as my phone, but it's nice in the hand. Buttons are good and solid. Metal build on it.
A little bit bigger than a Game Boy Advance, is it? See it again? It's around the same size, actually. Maybe the screen's bigger.
Just to give you a little side by side of my phone, like.
How much was it?
So you can get it for about 115, and that's the metal version. And you can get it cheaper if you get the plastic version. But the recommendation is you're buying it off AliExpress that way, and your recourse for anything going wrong isn't great that way. It's coming from China. You're better to go on Amazon and buy it from a seller on there because you get the protections of Amazon. So I paid €150 for the thing.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
What are thumbsticks like?
They're good. They're like it's a tiny, like the area of gameplay is a bit small, but they're good solid like Switch style thumbsticks. The buttons are nice. They're engraved with the letters A, B, X, Y. The D-pad's good. It's I think it's a 3.2 screen. It's a little wider, so it's not native to some of the 4.3 stuff, but it plays like Game Boy Advance games, natural.
Does it stretch them, or
that's where you get into. That's where it gets into, like, you get to customize. So you can choose to play native. Like, I'm going to play it natively, set it to default 4.3. You can, for stuff like Game Boy, you get into the settings and you can just say, I want this to look like a Game Boy game, because it will display it black and white, but the Game Boy Liquid Crystal stuff was green, so if you want that look, there's a setting for it. You can change it to whatever color you want, but you can set it to default to the original stuff. Yeah, I very much like it so far. That's my review of it, and as I say, I have a little unboxing video. Yeah, I'm happy out.
Cool.
I might have to leave it there because I'm getting my second vaccine.
Yeah, I was going to say I feel like we should end it there. We did talk about perhaps looking at mentioning Flight Simulator. The one thing I want to do before, I know you have to run, Brian, but like just before we go, for the sake of the listeners as well, we don't have a designated show in the running at the moment, like a Loki show or a Marvel show. But it has been said to me when we had that lull between WandaVision and Loki that it was nice to have a little forewarning of what's going to be watched. I would recommend, or I would suggest, we watch Lady Hawk for next week. I know you've seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know that you've seen it in a long time. I think I intended to suggest it when Richard Donner passed. I've never seen it. I don't think Kev's seen it. So I think that's a decent shout for what's on deck next week.
Cool.
Rick and Morty this week was not worth talking about. Here's hoping the next episode is good. Sorry, I love you guys, but that episode went great. Do better.